Today we will be solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. But first of all, we're going to start by using the discriminant to tell how many solutions there are and what type. So remember, quadratic equations are parabolas. You know, they have the x squared and then they're parabolas. So the solutions occur where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So there are these three possibilities. Sometimes a parabola will cross the x-axis twice, and so we will have two solutions, two real solutions. If the parabola's vertex sits right on the x-axis, then it's possible to have just the one real solution. And if the parabola doesn't touch the x-axis at all, if it doesn't touch, then there are no real solutions, but instead we have imaginary solutions, two imaginary solutions. You can't have one imaginary, they always occur in pairs. Now, the discriminant, this is the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. Alright, if you look at the quadratic formula, it's the part of the quadratic formula that's underneath the radical. So, it's this discriminant, it's the radical part of the quadratic formula where we get two solutions from, plus or minus. So it makes sense that usually we're going to have two solutions, one from adding and one from subtracting. It makes sense that if this is 0 under here, if that's 0, okay, then that's why we only have one real solution. If the discriminant is 0, then basically this entire part goes away. There's nothing to add or subtract. So we just have the negative b over 2a part. That's our one solution. On the other hand, because this discriminant here is under the radical, if this is a negative number, okay, like imagine this was like a negative 9 or something, then all of a sudden I'm talking about negative b plus or minus the square root of negative 9. Okay? And of course the square root of a negative number gives you imaginary. So that would be plus or minus 3i. Okay? So it makes sense that if the discriminant is negative, then we're going to have our imaginary solutions because we have a negative number under the radical, and that's where imaginary numbers come from. Like all these would be imaginary numbers. Okay, so I'm hoping you don't have to memorize this. Alright, if it's 0, everything goes away, so there will only be one solution. If it's negative, then you have a negative under the radical, so of course that'll be imaginary solutions. And normally you have plus and minus, so if it's positive, you're going to have two real solutions. Anyway, I spent too much time on this already. So, we're told that the discriminant is negative 9. Okay, so based on what I just showed you, am I going to have real or imaginary solutions? Well, because it's negative, that means we're going to have imaginary. We're going to have two imaginary solutions. Okay? Because that's what I just showed you. If it's negative, you have two imaginary. Okay? What about if it's 8? Then that's going to be two real solutions. Alright, because it's positive is the point. And if it's positive, that means it's a double strike, and that's two real solutions. And if it's 0, what did we decide would happen? There would be one real solution. Alright? Just like I showed you. If the discriminant is 0, that's this situation, that's one real solution. Okay, now state the discriminant and solve the equation. So the first thing I always want you to do is find the discriminant. Okay. Now in this case, A is 1, and B is -1, and C is -20. I feel like I should zoom in more. Okay, so that's our A, B, and C. So the discriminant, of course, is b squared minus 4ac. That's the discriminant. So I'm really doing -1 squared minus 4 times 1 times -20. Now, I like to do this part in my head. -1 squared is just 1. Okay, but after that you can feel free to use the calculator if you really want to. Okay, I'm just going to use the screen. So, -1 squared is 1. So this is going to be 1 minus 4. You really don't have to type the 1, but some kids like to do it just to be doing b squared minus 4ac. Alright, so the discriminant is 81. Alright, you know what? I can close this now. I think we're done with this. Okay, so the discriminant is 81. So let's write that down. Alright, you're supposed to put that right here. Discriminant is 81. Now let's go ahead and keep going and find the solutions. So now that I know that the discriminant is 81, I'm going to go ahead and do the whole quadratic formula. Alright, and the quadratic formula is, okay, here's your quadratic formula. Opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you should memorize that, okay? So opposite of b. Alright, b is -1. So the opposite of b is +1. Plus or minus the square root. Then here is going to be the discriminant, which we already know is 81. All over 2a. Well, a is 1, so 2a is going to be 2. So I've got this. Now, I can finish the problem. Square root of 81 is 9. So this is 1 plus or minus 9 over 2. Alright, but we're not going to stop here. Okay, this means two things. It means 1 plus 9 over 2 and 1 minus 9 over 2. That's what plus or minus means. Well, so this would be 10 over 2, which equals 5. And this would be -8 over 2, which is -4. So the two solutions are -4 and 5. Boom. There you go. So that's how you do number, what was that, 4? Okay, let's keep going. Let's do number 5. So number 5, we have A is 1, and B is -10, and C is 29. So the discriminant is going to be b squared. So it's -10 squared minus 4 times A times C. That's our discriminant. So let's go ahead and calculate it. Alright, I like to square this in my head. So -10 squared, that's going to be +100. +100. So b squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 29. You did not have to write the 1. You could have left that out. So that gives us -16. So that means our discriminant is -16. So let's go ahead and put that down. Okay, now for the rest of it, opposite of b. Alright, b is -10, so the opposite of b is +10. Plus or minus square root Alright, and then there's the discriminant. That's our b squared minus 4ac, right, which is negative 16, all over 2a. So 2a, that's 2 times 1. So I'm just going to put 2. Now, the square root of negative 16. Remember, if you take the square root of a negative number, that negative sign is going to come out and as an I for imaginary. So this is 10 plus or minus I root 16. The negative sign became the I on the outside. No more negative sign. Okay, over 2. So that's going to give me 10 plus or minus. Now, 16 is a perfect square. Square root of 16 is 4. So that's plus or minus 4i. Okay? Now, I'm almost done, but I will look now to see if there's a GCF. If there's a common factor between all three of these, then I need to divide. And in fact, all of these are divisible by 2. So let's go ahead and divide everything by 2. Okay? If I do that, then I'm going to have, 10 divided by 2 is 5, plus or minus. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so I have 2i. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, okay, which I'm not going to put a 1 under here, alright? It's not necessary. Basically, these cancel each other out. Alright, so the solutions are 5 plus or minus 2i. Okay, kind of wrote a little goofy. Let me try that again. 5 plus or minus 2i. And please understand, this is two solutions. It's 5 plus 2i, and it's 5 minus 2i. It's really two solutions. But you can leave it like this if you want. Okay, so that was number 5. Let's go on to number 6. Now, notice this is not in standard form. Before we do the quadratic formula, we need to have all of this set equal to 0. So I'm going to need to subtract 2x squared from both sides, like this. And I'm also going to need to add 1 to both sides, like this. Alright, so all of this is going to cancel out. Now over here, 3x squared minus 2x squared, that's 1x squared, or just x squared. These, I just put this over here because there was no like term. But really, I'm going to put these next to each other. 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. This is called standard form. And everything's on the left with the x squared term first, and then the x term, and then the constant last. Now and only now will we talk about what a, b, and c is. Okay, so a is 1, b is 2, and c is negative 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the discriminant now. So the discriminant is b squared. Alright, so that's 4, b squared minus 4. You know what, I better show it. Lord help me. Alright, so it's b squared minus 4ac. But when I put this in my calculator, what am I doing, my friend? Alright, I guess I'll put my calculator on the other side. Okay, so when I put this in my calculator, it's going to be b squared, I'm just going to put 4 for that. B squared minus 4ac. Again, I do not need the negative 1. I mean the positive 1. I could have left this completely out. Okay, so I get 8. So my discriminant is 8. Now, so the solutions. Okay, so opposite of b, so -2 plus or minus square root discriminant over 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, now I would put the square root of 8 in the calculator. I mean, I know what it is in my head, but maybe you don't. Okay, so square root of 8 is 2 radical 2. Okay, so I've got x equals -2 plus or minus 2 radical 2 over 2. Alright, so this is almost the answer, but I see a GCF happening here. So again, let's divide everything by the common factor of 2. Alright, and that will give me my final answer, alright, which is -1 plus or minus, and this would be also 1, which I don't need that 1, so I'll just put radical 2. And then 2 divided by 2, again, that's a 1, but I won't put it under 1. I'll just leave that off. Basically, they cancel out. So, it's just -1 plus or minus radical 2. Alright? Which is the same thing as -1 plus radical 2 and -1 minus radical 2. Okay, what's next? Number 7. Alright, I think I'm going to see if my tea is ready. Okay, number 7. Again, we need to move these things over to the other side by subtracting 2x from both sides and by adding 1 to both sides. So that is going to give me x squared minus 2x minus 4 equals 0. Alright, the x squared and the minus 2x, I just wrote them side by side, but the -5 and the +1, those are like terms, so together they made -4. Okay, that means I've got A is 1, and B is -2, and C is -4. Time for the discriminant. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Okay? B squared is 4, positive 4. So I like to just go straight to 4 minus 4ac. You do not need the 1. I encourage you to leave that out. Okay, so we get 20. The discriminant is 20. Let's put that down. So now the solutions. So the solutions are opposite of b. So positive 2 plus or minus square root of 20, you know, the discriminant, over 2a. A is 1, so 2a is just 2. Alright, square root of 20, once again, is 2 radical 5. So this will be x equals 2 plus or minus 2 radical 5 over 2. Once again, we have a common factor of 2, and we need to divide everything by that common factor. Alright, this seems like almost the same exact problem as a minute ago. So if I divide all these by 2, I'm going to get 1. Alright, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so 1 plus or minus radical 5. Alright, and I will not put the 1 underneath. Now, wasn't that just like a problem that we just had? Alright, very, very similar. Anyway, okay, let's move on. Alright, let's look at number 8. This 8x needs to come over here. Notice it will be in the middle. This is the x term, and the x term goes in the middle. Okay, so I will subtract 8x from both sides, being careful to put it in the middle. So that's going to give me 6x squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. So that tells me that A is 6, and B is negative 8, and C is 3. Alright, it's time to find the discriminant. The discriminant, so that's B squared minus 4AC. B squared is 64. So if I were you, I would go straight to this. 64, okay, always, that B squared is always going to be a positive number. So 64 minus 4AC. Alright, so there's our discriminant. So that's going to give us negative 8. Okay, so you know there's imaginary numbers coming as soon as you see that. So the discriminant is negative 8. Mark it down. So now we can go ahead and find the solutions. So the solutions are opposite of B. Okay, so that'll be positive 8 plus or minus square root of the discriminant, which is negative 8, all over 2a. Well, a is 6, so 2a is 12. And again, I keep saying this, but I'm just going by the formula. Opposite of b, and then in the bottom, it's 2a, 2 times a. Okay, so 2 times 6 is 12. Now, you know that negative is going to be imaginary, so that means I'm going to have 8 plus or minus I radical 8 over 12. Now that negative comes out as an I. That leaves me free to take the square root of 8. Okay, so the square root of 8 is 2 radical 2. So I'm going to have x equals 8 plus or minus 2I radical 2 over 12. So you see the 2 radical 2 from the 8, but put the I in the middle of that. Okay, once again there's a GCF that must be handled. They're all divisible by 2. Okay, so go ahead and divide all 3 by 2, but then that will be the answer. So the solutions are 4 plus or minus I root 2 over 6. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let us go on. Take a look at number 9. It's already in standard form. Alright, so that means I know that A is negative 8, and B is 7, and C is 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the discriminant. So the discriminant is going to be b squared minus 4ac. So that's 7 squared minus 4 times negative 8 times 2. Okay, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so b squared, so that's 49 minus 4 times negative 8 times 2. So that's 113. Okay, so the discriminant is 113. Alright, so now the solutions. So the solutions will be opposite of b, so that'll be negative 7 plus or minus square root, the discriminant goes there, over 2a. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. Okay, there is no common factor, so this is, you could write the solution this way. So you could have, except for I would encourage one thing. You know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and this is plus or minus, so that's not going to change, but basically you know, I would encourage you to divide everything by -1 here. Alright, dividing by -1 here isn't going to change anything because it's plus or minus anyway. But basically these negatives are going to cancel out. Okay, let's just call it what it is. So it's really going to be 7 plus or minus radical 13 over 16. You don't need to keep these negative signs in front. Okay, boom. That's how you would write your solution. Alright, what else we got? We're already on the back page. We are rolling. Okay, this must be number 10, even though the number 10 disappeared. Maybe I'll put a 10 here to remind us until it shows up again. This needs to get over here, so I'm going to wind up adding 3x to both sides. Remember that the x term goes in the middle. So this will be 2x squared plus 3x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, which means that a is 2, and b is 3, and c is 5. So when I do my discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, that's going to be b squared minus 4ac, like that. Okay, so that's going to be 9 b squared minus 4 times 2 times 5. So that's negative 31. Interesting. Alright, so the discriminant is negative 31. So that's going to be imaginary. But aside from that, there's not a lot I can do with 31. So the solutions now will be opposite of b. So negative 3 plus or minus square root of negative 31 all over 2a. 2 times 2 is 4. So this is pretty much the answer, except for this negative sign is going to come out front as an I. So I'm just going to cut to here. So the solutions will be negative 3 plus or minus I radical 31 over 4. There's no GCF this time, so that's it. Alright, what's next? Alright, already in standard form, so a equals 9, b equals negative 12, and c equals 4. So, discriminant b squared minus 4ac. See, go put it over here. Okay, 12 squared is 144, so I know this will be positive 144, b squared minus 4 times 9 times 4. 0. Aha, that means there's only going to be one solution. So write that down. The discriminant is 0. So let's see what our one solution is. So it's time for the solution now. Opposite of b, so that's positive 12 plus or minus square root of 0 all over 2a. Well, 2 times 9 is 18. Okay, but this 0 business, alright, it's really plus or minus 0, like that's gone. So it's really 12 over 18. Alright, which just needs to be reduced. Alright, I mean, you should be able to do this in your head because these are both divisible by 6. Alright, so that'll just be 2 over 3. So that is our one solution, is 2/3. Please remember that your calculator will reduce for you. If I go 12 over 18, I see that it's 2/3, just in case you have trouble with that. Okay, next problem. Number 12. Already in standard form, so here we go. A is 4, B is -9, and C is 2. So now the discriminant. So B squared minus 4AC. Okay, I know this is 81, positive 81. So B squared minus 4 AC. So that's 49. That is a perfect square. That'll come in handy when I do my solution. So my solutions should be x equals opposite of b, so positive 9 plus or minus square root, in goes the discriminant, all over 2a. That's 2 times 4, so that's 8. So that's going to give me x equals 9 plus or minus 7. Square root of 49 is 7 over 8. Now, because this is an integer, right? This is a number that can actually be added with 9. In previous problems, we sort of stopped here because we had radicals. All right, we don't have any radical now, so we have to keep going. We have to recognize that this means 9 plus 7 over 8, and it means 9 minus 7 over 8. Okay? 9 plus 7 over 8 is 16 over 8, which is 2. 9 minus 7 is 2 over 8, which is 1/4. So the solutions are 2 and 1/4. This is already in standard form, so A is equal to 9, B is -6, and C is 10. Let's find that discriminant. Discriminant is B squared minus 4AC. Okay, B squared, that's 36. So 36 minus 4 times 9 times 10. Negative 324. Okay, so that's my discriminant is negative 324. So now let's go ahead and find the solutions. So the solutions are opposite of b, so that's positive 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 324 all over 2a, which is 18, 2 times 9. Now, square root of negative 324. This negative sign will come out as an I. Okay, this is imaginary, so it'll be 6 plus or minus I radical 324. All right, let's see what the square root of 324 is. Oh, it's a perfect square, 18. I didn't actually know that. So yeah, that's 18. So then this becomes x equals 6 plus or minus 18i. Okay, square root of 324 is 18. The I will go on this side now. Okay, over 18. Now there's definitely a GCF. All of these are divisible by 6. It's the greatest common factor. So if I do that, my solutions become 1 plus or minus 3i I over 3. So boom, that's the answer. Alright, look at number 14. Alright, this stuff has to go to the other side. So I am going to subtract 2x squared from both sides. And I am going to subtract 2 from both sides. 3x squared minus 2x squared. That's just x squared. These two don't actually go together, so I'll just put them side by side. So minus 4x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so that means that a is 1, and b is negative 4, and c is negative 2. So now it is time for the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so that's going to be 16, that's b squared, minus 4ac. You did not need the negative 1. So that's going to be 24. So our discriminant is 24. Okay, now we can do the solutions. So x is equal to opposite of b. Okay, so it'll be positive 4 plus or minus square root of 24, the discriminant, over 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, square root of 24, this one I could do in my head. Okay, it's going to be 2 radical 6. So that's x is equal to 4 plus or minus 2 radical 6 over 2. Alright, just do your GCF and you're done. All of these are divisible by 2. Okay, so that's why I will have 2 plus or minus radical 6, and that's it. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I don't need to put a big 1 under there. That's it. Okay. Number 15. Already in standard form. So that means that a is equal to 1, and b is equal to negative 4, and c is equal to 7. So the discriminant will be b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so b squared, that's 16, positive 16, minus 4ac. You do not need the 1. So that is negative 12. Watch out, it's going to be imaginary. So the discriminant is negative 12. Then we go finding the solutions. So that's opposite of b. So that'll be positive 4 plus or minus square root. Alright, then in goes the discriminant of negative 12 all over 2a, but 2 times 1 is 2. That negative sign comes out as an I, right? So that'll be x equals 4 plus or minus I radical 12 over 2. Now, square root of 12 is 2 radical 3. So that's 4 plus or minus 2 radical 3 over 2. And that I goes right in the middle between the 2 and the 3. Now, this has that GCF thing happening again. So I'm going to just divide all of these by 2. GCF, GCF, GCF. So that will give me the final answer of 2 plus or minus I root 3. Alright, these 2's canceled out, and these 2's canceled out. So that left this. Alright, I think we are down to our last 3 problems. Okay, this is already in standard form. So that means A is 25, B is negative 20, C is 4. The discriminant is B squared minus 4AC. Alright, these are big numbers. But whatevs, man, whatevs. Okay, I know this is going to be positive, alright? And I know that 20 squared is 400. Alright, but say if you didn't know that. You could either sit here and just type 20 squared separately real quick. See? Oh, look, that's 400. Or it would work to type this in just the way it is, as long as you remember to put the negative 20 in parentheses, like I just did. Okay, we're going to get 0. Whatever you did to calculate it, you should be getting 0. Okay, so the discriminant is 0. That means we're only going to have one solution. Let's see what that one solution is. So it's going to be opposite of B. So that'll be positive 20 plus or minus square root of 0 over 2A. 2 times 25 is 50. Now this 0 business, alright, 0 plus or minus nothing, that's gone. So it's really just 20 over 50, which, you know, dividing both of those by 10, alright, which you can do kind of by canceling out these zeros. See the 2 and the 5? 2/5. So that is the one solution, alright? And this is why when the discriminant is 0, you only get one solution. There's nothing to add or subtract. Okay, 2 more problems, and then we're done. Alright, this 5 is on the wrong side. It's got to get over there. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So that's going to give me 2x squared minus x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, fine. So that's going to give me A is 2, and B is negative 1, and C is negative 5. So it is time for the discriminant. B squared minus 4AC. Yeah. Okay, let's see, where's that? So b squared minus 4ac. This is 1. 1 squared is 1. So it's 1 minus 4 times 2 times negative 5. Alright, our discriminant is 41. Okay, right, positive 41. Okay, so now we can go ahead and find the solutions, which are opposite of b, so it's positive 1 plus or minus square root of 41 all over 2a. 2 times 2 is 4. There is no GCF. The square root of 41, that's a prime number. So that's it. 1 plus or minus square root of 41 over 4. Okay, one more problem. Alright, this 3 needs to skedaddle on over here. So I'm going to go minus 3 on both sides. So that'll give me negative 6x squared plus 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. So that means that A is negative 6, B is 3, and C is negative 1. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So that is 3 squared minus 4ac, like that. Okay, so the discriminant. Okay, 3 squared is 9. So that's 9 minus 4 times negative 6 times negative 1. Okay, b squared minus 4ac. That is negative 15, friends. So our discriminant is negative 15. Therefore, the solutions are opposite of b, so that'll be negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 15 over 2a. Well, that's negative 12. 2 times negative 6. This radical 15, the negative sign is going to come out and become I. So this is like negative 3 plus or minus I root 15 over negative 12. Now, like you saw in a previous problem, we don't really keep these, when it's minus and minus, these are going to cancel out and become positive. Square root of 15, that can't be simplified any further. Okay, if you tried square root of 15 in your calculator, you're just going to get square root of 15. It's letting you know that that's all you get. So really, this is the answer. So it's going to be 3 plus or minus I root 15 over 12. And that is it, my friends. I hope it was helpful to you, and I will see you on the next video.